Welcome to the Garima Avtar show. In today's episode, I have with me Akbar Ibrahim, former international racing driver and first Indian to have raced in the FIA British F3 and F2 Championship. He is the current president of the FMSCI, current president of the FIA CIK Karting Commission, and current FIA World Motorsports Council member. Thanks for joining me, Akbar. Such a pleasure to have you on my show.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Please tell us a bit about your journey and how you got into motorsports.
Well, getting into motorsport was when I actually started racing in Sholaram, the once-a-year races that were held in Madras. When I was a 15-year-old, it was always, again, like any other young kid. It's a passion for the automobile and passion for speed. It had the opportunity. I didn't. I mean, not everybody knew, the family didn't know, but I just went across and took part in the annual Grand Prix in an old Fiat 128, which was slotted into the open class category, which was quite amusing because it was pitted against all these bigger Formula cars. But it was quite an experience and I liked it. And I did Sholaram for about, I think, 2 or 3 years before they closed the circuit down and moved to the Sri Pavdo circuit. When I did Sholaram when I was 15 or 16, and I stopped because I was playing a lot of cooperative cricket. I think I raced when I was in 1978, 79, and then for about 8 or 9 years, I was completely into professional cricket. I got back into racing when Mr. Garima brought in the single-seater Formula Maruti when he developed this product for Indian racing, and that was interesting. So I got back into racing pretty late in the day, probably at the age of 26 or 27. But the passion for racing was always there. So the cricket had actually toned down by then, and it was a perfect sort of transition to make. So that's exactly how I got into it.
Wow.
Raced in India for quite a few years. Did pretty well, won many championships, and then the ambition was always there to race internationally because we did the Formula 3 in India. It was very interesting. So I moved on, and I knew it was I was racing and competing against the youngsters, but it was always the ambition the passion to race, and at higher levels and explore the opportunity, and because it's all about enjoying what you do.
Absolutely.
So I did go into the Asian Championship. Then I moved to the UK, did a couple of years racing in UK, in Formula 4, in Formula 3, and then Formula 2. To as much budgets that I had, it was not complete championships, but yeah. So once I came back, it was about 97, 98, and then competed here again for some time, and then after that moved on to starting the first academy in India, which was to impart knowledge to young talented kids and bringing karting into India as well as a professional racing academy. That's the journey. That's how I got into racing, and that was the.
That's so amazing. I mean, it's been a very inspiring journey of yours, Akbar, and especially also then you started your own academy after racing. You wanted to, impart, knowledge and training to youngsters, and so that you can promote motorsports and more, budding motorsport athletes in our country. So that's really amazing. So as the current president of FMSCI, what is your vision for motorsports in India, and what are the steps you're taking to make it more popular, affordable, and inclusive?
Well, the vision for the FMSCI for Indian motorsport is to focus both on the high end as well as the bottom end. We need to keep focusing on technology, innovation, build with new technologies, and try and keep make India a center for world-class international events, increase the number of international events to come to India, which has started. I mean, it's happening now the last 1 year, right, as you can see. We've got the Formula E World Championship now next month in Hyderabad on the street circuit.
That's
we
amazing.
had the street circuit running racing league for the first time in India.
Yeah, awesome. That's wonderful.
we're also in line now to hopefully that we will be able to, the promoters working closely with them to ensure that the MotoGP round also comes to India in September, October 2023. So with these events, and I think the other FIA events in Formula 3, Formula 4 will also hopefully get established in India in 2023. And that lays the base for good international events to be running every year. Two-wheeler motorsport is also been growing very rapidly and has become extremely professional. It's very satisfying to see a lot of manufacturers being involved in the sport now as compared to before, which is not the case four-wheelers, but in two-wheelers we do have a lot of involvement from the manufacturers, which has actually given a big impetus to the development of the sport. So while we do that, I think the FMSCI has to be very conscious about, working hard on the development of the officials, because that's a huge area of concern globally, not just in India. Its constant training is required. It's something that we have lagged upon. We have just fallen back in some areas, which I am now trying to bring it back to where we need to be. Expand the base and create more opportunities for more youngsters who are interested in officiating at various levels, both men and women, and also focus on the commissions to improve the regulations, make sure that the sporting regulations, the general prescriptions and the technical regulations are more specific. Interpretation issues are dealt with, because these, if there are a lot of loopholes in the regulations, it does create a lot of disturbance in the smooth running of an event. It creates issues for the stewards, it creates issues for the organizers, and sort of gives the impression that, nothing is equal. So a lot of work has to be done from the commissions to ensure that, the regulations are much more watertight and more, no scope for so much of interpretation that happens, which is again is a global phenomenon. So people, even at the FIA and FIM level, there's a lot of focus given with the commissions to keep improving the regulations and keep evolving as we proceed with time. The another big area of focus now is again at the grassroots, because India is such a large country with a population of close approximately 1.3 billion people, and the number of license holders that we have in all forms, from national championship licenses down to the club licenses, is in the range of 5,000 licenses, which is very minuscule compared to much smaller countries. They are much smaller population. They have a large number of participants. Okay, they do a lot of licensing for grassroots events, small picnic rally events, small club, car park rallies. So those licenses that are issued all add up to the number, but then it does give a global perception that, you have a reasonable level of participation in the sport. India has its own problems in terms of, the geographical factors that we have. It's a very large, and we don't have that much of infrastructure as far as motorsport infrastructure is concerned in different big cities and second-tier cities, which obviously then does not give the opportunity for people to take up the sport, which is why we have a lot of youngsters going to other team sports, because there are infrastructure available in every town. There is a facility available in every town, but then you don't have a karting track, or you don't have a racetrack, or you don't have, autocross layouts in multiple towns where people can then take up the sport. So that's a handicap that we have. But I think over a period of time, and as we're seeing the remote tracks coming up, karting tracks coming up, so I think as the sport is getting more interest, people will start investing more, and hopefully we will also get some good support from the government in terms of infrastructure or land availability to put up more facilities. That would certainly, to sum it up, these are the focus areas that I'm trying to work on. Probably come 2024 September, when my term ends, should be in a position to hand over a stable platform to my successor.
That sounds amazing and very, very, kudos to your leadership, Akbar, that so many new opportunities have, come around, and, to see Formula E, Hyderabad Grand Prix happening for the first time in India, it's so heartening. In fact, I'm so looking forward to attending it myself. And then the MotoGP is going to be there. It's so amazing. That's amazing. So, coming back to your, you as a driver and, as a trainer, and you have your academy and all. So, let's throw a little bit of light around, what factors do you think, make a good driver, as an athlete, what qualities you think are important to succeed in life, in general or in any sport also?
See, as far as a driver is concerned, one has to, obviously there has to be a certain level of skill, and some are naturally talented and some have to work that much more harder to come to the similar level of the naturally talented driver. But I would think that for a good driver, one has to first and foremost be physically fit, focus on the cardio as well as the muscle strengths that you would need to drive a physically demanding vehicle. Because driving it quick for a few laps is of no use. You have to be able to drive it consistently quick over the entire race distance. A very important factor is to have a good feel, which the quicker you feel the response from what's happening in the vehicle, which goes to your brain, and then the brain sends the signal down back to your body to give the required reactions to the vehicle, is all in microseconds, and a slightly delayed response or a slightly delayed a feel which is not so sensitive. It takes just that little more for a driver to be able to react, that's why you see the difference between a good driver and a very good driver or an average driver. The response times change. A lot of people think it's reflex. Reflex comes, you have good reflexes if you focus on a good fitness program, but it's not about reflex. It's just a question of trying to develop a great feel for keeping your palms and keeping all certain parts of your body that are relevant to generating a very quick feel is important. I think a driver then has to focus on the synchronization and the smoothness are two very important factors. To drive, to put in a good quick lap, it's not about being aggressive. Trying to be overtly aggressive is the worst thing that a driver can do, because you land up going much slower. Trying to be as smooth as possible while driving on the limit, and being able to synchronize all your actions, which basically is a little bit like ballet dancing. It's like as one ends, the other starts, and you don't try to flash two actions into one, which then creates a lot of disturbance, the handling characteristics of the vehicle. So it's always about smoothness and synchronization. So these are some important points that a driver would have to try and develop, work. Apart from the keenness and aptitude to understand the engineering side of the vehicle, the dynamics, understanding different conditions, which play a role in the manner and method of the type of inputs that you would need to give to the vehicle as a racing driver. Communication is extremely important, and again, mental toughness and having a very positive approach is very, very important. The first thing is that you have to have the passion and you have to enjoy what you're doing. I find in many cases people are doing it for the sake of doing it, or because someone else has done something and they want to be in that space. And what happens is when you don't enjoy it, then you sort of develop a very negative attitude, and you start going downhill rather than start progressing and going upwards. So these are the few pointers that I would think that is important to make a good driver.
I think so well said, Akbar. I think you have, almost covered all the important aspects, and I think such, discipline, to have the right feel and to stay calm behind, behind the wheel, and not to become aggressive. And also, you mentioned about the positive attitude. I mean, you have touched upon some really amazing points. Tell me, you have a very amazing journey. I mean, you have been a race car driver yourself, and then you opened an academy, and now you are the FMSCI president, and you're on the board of a member for FIA also. So please tell us what have been your learnings from the journey, and what is the message that you would like to convey to the young athletes out there?
That's an interesting question. In terms of sport, whether it's racing or it's cricket, I would think that, you one has to first lot, you have to recognize there's a lot more to the inside than what appears on the outside. The flash and the presentation is good, but if you think that's it, and then you get into a lot of areas of getting stranded. So there's so much more on the inside of everything that you do. There's so much more detailing that one would need to be looking into, which is extremely important. I would also say that it's an old saying that you never judge a book by its cover. And you really have to, again, get into a lot of detailing as to what all the intricacies that are there with the relevant sport. As a person, I think I've learned in the journey that it's important to follow the principle of the EDI, which is equality, diversity, and inclusiveness.
Yeah.
It's extremely important, having experienced multiple situations in various facets of life that we've gone through in sport. It also plays a very important role, not just in sport, but it's very important in your own character building as far as yourself and the people around you and the people who you are with. It has a big influence if you can focus on using those principles to keep moving on and moving up in life. One has realized that there are going to be very good ups as well as severe downs in your life as you go through the cycle, and one cannot expect that there is not going to be a downside, or there's not going to be a reverse flip to any situation that you're in. You have to face up to it. It has to be measured. Can't flinch. Don't run away. You deal with it. It's a question of learning how to deal with the situation. So, as well as you deal with a good situation, you need to understand how to deal with a bad situation too, and then come out on top. And the averages are important more than the spikes.
Totally.
Well,
Very well.
there's another important point which one has to know, that there is always a learning every single day. I've seen in experience that the minute you start relying on your past and you start dwelling on your past, and if you think that's going to be a support system to where you are today and where you're going to go tomorrow, it's completely a wrong way to go about it. What you've achieved is part of history, your life cycle. But for you to continue to function, it's what you do today, what you learn, and how you plan for tomorrow are important factors that I've learned over a period of time. Well, you have to put in the hard yards. There's no substitute for hard work. You cannot drop your guard, because in whatever you're doing every day, there is someone else trying to do it better. So, and you also have to enjoy competition. I do find that many circumstances and instances, many people actually are not enjoying competition, which is the very essence of the sport. I would find that many people want to be winning races by being way in front, and the essence of racing is wheel-to-wheel racing. And you have a really good race, you don't feel whether you finish second, third, or fourth. Yes, winning is very important. It's the aspiration for every driver. That's why he's on the grid. But end of the day, you have to enjoy competition. And it's only if you enjoy competition you're going to work harder. Because if you don't relish competition, you're going to be finding excuses and sitting in this blame game sort of wrapped up to your entire life. On the end of the day, the loser is you. You may initially be sort of succeed in social media tools and stuff like that, and trying to get people to support your excuses that you may make. But at the end of the day, over a period of time, all the people who give you the thumbs up on social media are not there to basically, be with you when you are not making progress.
Totally.
So, and one has to also, I've learned, that need to evolve and understand the evolving situation. It's very dynamic in today's world, and it's getting even more dynamic. It's very hard to keep pace with the sort of technologies and the sort of the young generation and the way they process things and the way things are happening. So if you need to, you can take a position in terms of how to stay away from certain things, but you need to be abreast of what's going on so that you still are competitive and competent in today's world. Like I said, these are the few points that I've learned in this journey, and I think it's been a good learning. And hopefully, we have to deal with our own minds, because the mind is one thing that can run away from you very quickly and can destroy you. So I think it's important that we keep focusing on that and then keeping that in mind.
Wow. Seriously, Akbar, I mean, you have such clarity of thoughts and such a wonderful message. I am myself so inspired by it. Thank you so much for this wonderful message. Let's come to the rapid fire questions now. Are you ready for that? They will be short, one line answer. Very short, one word, one line answer. Okay, cool. So who's your role model?
Well, my role model in my life has been three people: my grandfather, my mother's father, my father, as well as my late father-in-law. These three people have inspired me in the way they've lived their life, their principles, and it's been a true inspirational journey learning from them. To try and maintain such principles is obviously very inspiring.
How do you derive your regular dose of motivation?
I think to keep track of who you are, what you are, to understand, look at yourself more often in the mirror, to try and see and do a lot of self-analysis. I think that's good enough reason to keep motivating yourself, so that you don't start stagnating, you don't start going downhill. So you don't need to keep waking up, and I think that's what keeps the motivation.
Super. So who's your favorite sports athlete?
Roger Federer.
Okay, wonderful. One hidden talent?
Baking cakes.
Oh, really? Cakes? Oh my god, that's amazing. So tea cake, chocolate, vanilla, what's your favorite flavor, Arvind?
Just the good old sponge cake.
Okay, wonderful. That's amazing. Okay, what's your biggest dream?
That's a tough one. It's probably just to be at peace with yourself and enjoy the world that you live in.
No, I think that's also so important, to be able to, have that, that peace with oneself is definitely, a big thing to achieve, actually. Okay, so the best thing about racing?
Like I said, the best thing about racing is being able to compete wheel to wheel, pushing yourself to the limit and not going over the limit. It's such a fine line. It's so easy to go over the limit. It's so easy to go off the grip levels, and it's not so easy to go right up there all the time and be there all the time. So that's the real thrilling part about being a racing driver, that you're on the limit, but you can't go off the limit. And the ability to be able to compete wheel to wheel with other skilled drivers who are racing with you.
Great. Best racing memory?
When I won the first Formula 3 race in India, it was in a car that was pretty outdated, because it was my first exposure that was given to me by Lakshmi Mills and Mr. Akbar Ebrahim. It was an entry that was sort of to build me into things. Okay. It was a car that was 5 years older to the competition, and it was a car that ran with an engine with a carburetor, as against the rest of the competition, which had all the new fuel injection engines. So to win the first sprint race, and that was truly an exhilarating moment.
Super. That's great. Okay, most embarrassing moment?
When I was leading another Formula 3 race in India with a lot of the international drivers driving, I had a sizable lead, and I spun in the third last corner, the slow left-hander in Chennai. There was nobody next to me. It was such a cardinal mistake that I still can't get over even 35 years down the line.
What's the best advice you ever got?
The best advice I got is from people who spoke to me about making sure that you understand what wisdom is all about. Use common sense, keep things simple, and be humble.
Awesome. Favorite car?
I don't really have a favorite car. There are so many good cars around, but I would think that the Ford Mustang has always been something that I've been passionate to. I did have one a long time back when Dad had it, not me.
Okay.
And I think that's something that has always been something close to me.
Super. And with this, we come to the end of the show. Thank you so much, Akbar, for this absolutely amazing session.
Thank you so much, Garima. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you all for listening to today's episode with your host, Garima Avtar. If you like this episode, then subscribe to my podcast for more new episodes and a deeper dive into the world of motivation and winning psychology. See you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.